Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Business Growth Spotlight podcast. I'm excited to be here with you today and with my special guest, who is one of my founding guests on this show. This is a new podcast, so I'm really excited for you to be here and listening to me. And I'm really honored to be joined by Nader Safinya. So welcome, Nader, to the show today.
Thank you, Heidi. And the honor is mine. Thank you so much for inviting me to this kickoff. It's really exciting.
Absolutely. And I'm so grateful that you're here and you said yes. And we have been having some fun behind the scenes, and we're going to continue to rock and roll with that during today's episode. So, Business Growth Spotlight podcast is sponsored by HLH Growth Solutions. If you're looking to amp up your visibility and your lead gen, then go ahead and grab our Spotlight to Scale blueprint. You can go get that at spotlighttoscale.com/blueprint. And now, before we dive in, Nader, I'm just going to give everybody a little background of you, and then we will
Sure.
hit the ground running. So Nader Safinya is known as the culture branding guy who helps companies become disruptive, people-first culture brands by bridging the gap between internal culture and external brand identity. Through his agency, Black Ribbit, he's developed a unique dual strategy approach that designs customer and employer brands simultaneously, creating cohesive organizations that put quality of life above just selling products and services. Growing up internationally before settling in the US, Nader's diverse background and experiences in design and marketing shaped his unique approach to brand strategy. After founding Black Ribbit, he's made his mission to change society's relationship with the workplace by bringing cool jobs to cool people, stating that there's far more cool people than cool jobs, and he's here to narrow that gap. So again, welcome, Nader. Tell us more about the cool jobs to cool people ratio. How are you here to help jobs become cool?
Yeah, in essence, yes. In simple terms, yes. Basically, what that's referring to is not necessarily even the specific task-oriented gig, the role itself, but the place that that role exists. Creating a place where the being there and the job that comes with it, is accompanied with it, is cool. And what that means is that it's creating an environment, an atmosphere that makes people want to be there. I'm essentially answering two fundamental questions when I talk about culture branding. Um, it's really about helping, like you said, helping companies become people-first organizations that are very clearly answering two questions. Why would anybody want to work here? And why would anyone want to buy from here? So when I talk about cool jobs, it's answering that question in a very succinct, sort of clear, compelling way that answers why would anyone want to work here. One thing that I've been bringing up lately that I also challenge you to think about is it's interesting. When is the last time you read a job description and it actually talked about how it's going to affect your quality of life?
Mm.
It never talks about how it's going to affect your quality of life. And we're so trained in not seeing that and just looking at the role specifically and what our responsibilities will be to the company and how we're going to impact the company, but not how the company is going to impact us. They might throw in at the bottom there like some benefits and some standard text about pay and so on, and who you might be working with, the types of people you'll be working with, and who you'll be working for, as in the customers. But it never talks about how, where you'll be in 3 years or like how that's going to affect you or anything like
Right.
that. That's what I mean by a cool job. Like it's the when you read that description, you're like, that's a place I want to be. They're talking about me. They're talking to me, and I can really see myself growing there.
Yeah, I love that you're doing this because, back years ago, I think the pandemic created a lot of shifts in the culture of businesses with employees as well. But it used to be, like you said, like it was more about how can you help us, the company, versus you building a win-win relationship. So I really love that you're doing that. How challenging has that been as far as like bringing the companies to that space? Because in the long run, I'm guessing that the longer that they can retain their employees, the more money they're going to make, because now they're having employees who are actually invested in the family, in the company, like it's a family, because they want to help it grow, and there's less turnover, right? And also people want to stay where they're happy. I'm seeing more like many people will leave jobs that pay more if they're absolutely miserable and it's like basically quote unquote sucking the life out of them versus staying in a job that might pay them less, but at the end of the day, they have better quality of life and they're happier. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So you touched on a few good points there. The buy-in. So let me back up. When I talk about cool jobs for cool people, the for myself, like the danger of saying that, the risk of saying I bring cool jobs to cool people is that people instantly think I'm in HR. But I'm actually looking at the entire scope, the entire landscape through the lens of communications and brand strategy. In simple terms, you make a promise, you want to make sure you deliver. And the gap that I have identified, as you mentioned in the beginning, is that a company's culture is often not, if ever, reflected in its brand identity, in its marketing. So the market is not getting what the market sees. And so when I talk to prospects and sort of bringing this notion to the market, it's that truth, it's that fact that resonates because at the end of the day, you're the one I love this saying that you have where you say find the why that makes you cry. It's when you talk about leadership and you talk about sales and you talk about marketing and you talk about branding, you're almost always, if not exclusively, talking about the customer experience. And you're rarely, if ever, talking about the employee experience to the point where the employee experience is almost neglected. And you'll have change management agencies, HR, maybe recruiting, a lot of coaches focus on the employee experience. And then these two sides never talk. So there's this great disconnect between the employee-employer relationship and the employee-customer relationship. Um, so, to your point, it's not even about convincing somebody that this is a needed thing. It's about showing them that they're already experiencing it and that it needs to be mitigated because uh, they want to create an environment where their employee satisfaction score is high, that their retention scores are high, that their turnover scores are low, um, and that they are cultivating an environment where people actually want to be beyond the paycheck. You and I both know a promotion and a raise, the high of that lasts, what, 3 months, maybe? And then you realize you're still in the same place, same people. You have more responsibilities and less time,
Yeah.
more money, but less time to spend that money and to be with your family and so on. So the programs that I'm creating through the lens of communication and branding is about creating a place that really answers in an exciting and cool way why somebody would want to work here, which would ultimately answer the question why anyone would want to buy from this place as well.
Well, you have a pretty cool company name, Black Ribbit. So I was very interested and behind the scenes we talked about a little bit. So how did you come up with with the name Black Ribbit?
Um, thank you. I really like the name too. It seems to be well received. I didn't come up with the name. That's what's interesting about it. It was kind of written in the stars. It was fateful. Because I was in Munich getting my master's degree and I was on a streetcar. I don't even know where I was going, but I passed a tattoo shop that was called Black Rabbit and I
Mm.
misread it as Black Ribbit. And by the time I did a double take, it was too late. It triggered all these images and visions of tree frogs, and I was like swimming through a sea of frogs and tree frogs and glass frogs and different colors and shapes and sizes. And that was interesting to me. My first gut instinct was Black Ribbit would be a really cool name for an agency um, because it's weird and it's different and it almost sounds like a surfing brand or like I'm a snowboarder, so like I started thinking about snowboarding and this kind of stuff. And then when I journeyed into the world of frogs, I wanted to understand what that was about. Started looking up the symbolism of frogs, and I found that actually, globally speaking, for the most part, frogs symbolize transformation. They symbolize empathy and compassion, guidance, the wisdom to empower oneself. They are very much the teacher character and personalities and stories and so on. And it was interesting because that's how I try to frame my own life. I try to live through those values and, in fact, also conduct business in the same way. So it just felt very apt to keep that name. It just made sense. And that's where the logo, our logo as well, and our mascot, the little tree frog came from, the happy little tree frog that I called Kismet because Kismet means fate. And it just felt right. So that's where that came from.
Yeah, I love your branding and your logo and your tree frog and everything. I think it's very memorable, which is
Mhm.
so you're literally like walking your talk. You have created for you and your business a brand that is specific to the culture that you want to create inside of your business. And now you're helping corporations do the same. So let's
Yeah.
turn to marketing. What are some of the strategies that you've seen in 2024 that may be different in 2025? Or what did you do in 2024 that you may be leaning more into, or are you pivoting your strategy in any way as far as your business growth that you want to create this year? Go.
That's a really great question. Trends are tricky because that's exactly what they are. They're trends. So there are two things that I always lean into that are always true, two rules to follow in communications. One is strategy and the other is tactics. So um, our strategy is our long-term vision. It's our roots. It's, how what we are it's our resolve, right? It's what we believe in, how we sound, how we sort of carry ourselves, the values we hold dear, and our belief system. That should almost never change. If anything, you'll address them maybe every 5 to 10 years, but ultimately they pretty much stay the same. Your tactics are how you present those values and those beliefs and so on, and how that impacts your own way of doing business.
Mhm.
So, so for us, the what we were trying to do, like last year, we had the same issues that a lot of people did last year in business. There were countless factors that were influencing how business was behaving and how business was doing. In the communication space and marketing and advertising and so on, we definitely hit a lull across the board. And a big reason for that was actually the elections. And
Mhm.
a lot of people were waiting on, what was determined as a result of the elections, concerning the economic structure, penalties, tax fees, financial structures and policies and so on. So um, what we did last year to pivot into a market that, we thought would be relevant in that moment,
Mhm.
um, was we were looking at markets and industries that essentially almost always needed some kind of communication strategy. Like, for example, law, what is it, CPG, consumer packaged goods, and things like this. And one thing that's really interesting about our offering is the dual strategy approach, is that we design the customer and the employer brand at the same time. And in times of slowdown, my approach is always use the time to look inward. If you're slow to reach your customers because they're not buying at the moment because everybody's dealing with the same kind of slowdowns, especially if you're in our market, right? Like small to middle-sized businesses um, feel the effects of a down economy more than anybody else because they're either self-run or they're counting on investors.
Mhm.
Um, and so what I do is I say, okay, instead of thinking about go-to-market strategies and so on today, think about how you can clean house, how you can fix and optimize and make your own offer better and make things more efficient and faster and more interesting so that, people will want to work here, but also people will want to buy from you because now your deliverable is better and it's more attractive. And if you're not bringing business in at the moment, you have time to do that. I myself increased the value of my own offering by 30% last May because of that slowdown. So
Yeah.
we had all this time to look inwards. And as a result, when we were ready to go back to market, we came back stronger than we had ever been before. That's a serious increase, 30%.
That is a great increase. Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
so during periods of slowdown, it's not like you want to lean out and and step into fear. You actually want to lean in, and
yeah,
it's a great time to see, okay, well, what was working, what's not working, and how do we let's clean this up. Like you said, clean house, not meaning let people go. It means
that's
like how
right.
do we clean
Yes.
this? How
Thank
do we
you.
clean up any loose ends that we have and make what's working stronger? So that when, we do get busier, we don't need to take time and go scrambling, going, okay,
Yeah.
wait a minute, we need to fix things first. So that's a great point. So what is your number one priority this year as far as leaning into marketing? Like, tell us who are the companies that you work with, and what is the number one thing that you're leaning into to be able to connect with those companies?
Yeah, another good question. So, now that we have our processes so tight and our stories so airtight, we're going after, we want companies who are interested in growth, in real scale, who they're at a position where, let's say, they have 15 to 20 employees or more, and they're just trying to scale. They want to actually make a difference. They want to make an impact. And hence the term culture branding. They want to create an actual culture around what they're doing. They want to find the people who have the same values as they do, the markets that have the same values, the buyers, the prospective employees, and so on. So we're not industry specific. We're actually quite industry agnostic.
Mm.
And I'll give you an example. We were approached by a defense technology company not too long ago, and I'm personally reticent when it comes to that space, to defense technology companies that overlap with military and so on, because I don't uh, there are just areas of that that don't meet my own vision and my own values and so on. And with this defense technology company, it was clear that they were very people driven. They're very people driven. They're coming from a people first point of view, and it was a company that we could really get behind. And interestingly enough, it was the last place this was my own bias coming into play, where it was the last place that I thought we would find a company that was so seamlessly in tune with our own values. It was really interesting. Staying open to that and having the conversations and so has led us down a path to where we learned that. And so, to answer your question, we're kind of widening the field a bit, being very deliberate in finding prospects who share our values. We've learned to say no more deliberately and more readily because we don't want to dilute our own pipeline and the work that we're doing, so that we're delivering and putting together the kinds of programs that are really in line with our vision. Because that's one thing that I know everybody, all of us do this. Sometimes you just need the work, and other times, you have to get better at just saying no, not because you don't like the person, but because it doesn't fit within your agenda. If we have referrals, we can often be like, I can refer you to another 5 different agencies who are awesome. We're going to be better at doing this for you than we are because we can only take on so many people. We're very sort of exclusive agency, and we only work with like 4 clients at any given time because they're big projects with very involved processes, and we want to make sure we can give all our attention to those people. So in 2025, our goal is to really narrow down on the ICPs that we've created and really just go after finding those kinds of partnerships to be able to help them achieve their growth visions while achieving ours. I hope that answers your question. I don't know if that is
Oh yeah, it completely answers my question. And it's there, and it that's just reminded me of the power of like visibility, being out there.
Mhm.
They came to you wanting to know more, and you got to learn more about them, and you weren't closed off to going, okay, no, we don't work with these
Yeah,
companies. You were open. And I think that's powerful because when we're open to receive and we're out there sharing our message, letting them people know this is how we can help you. We're not here to help everyone, we only take on these many clients because you do give that personalized service because your goal is to fulfill and get results.
Hmm.
And you can't, and as agencies, we have an agency as well. As agencies, we can't do that when we're working with 100 different
Yeah.
companies. So, I think that, no, that was a great answer. And thank you for sharing. You said you have like a dual strategy that you have in place, and I know I want to be cognizant of our time, but I'm really, really curious. Can you share a little bit about what that dual strategy looks like? So, for if a leader, CEO, executives listening, going, you know what, I really want to learn more, but I don't know what that means. What does that dual strategy kind of look like if somebody came to you and wanted to work with you?
Sure. So the dual strategy refers to our inside outside in model, which is our signature process that we apply to really any culture branding program that we develop. The dual strategy refers to the two sides of that inside outside in model. So typically speaking, as I said earlier, a branding agency, marketing, communications, or otherwise, will focus on creating a customer brand, a customer value proposition, a strategy to find customers, to bring in customers, to attract customers, to answer the question, why would anyone want to buy from us? And then you have another strategy, which is for attracting employees. And that comes from, again, like change management or coaches or HR or whatever, which is the employer brand. What are you as an employer and why would anyone want to work for you? But these two sides, again, never talk. So there's this very great disconnect between how the company and the organization presents itself to the market and what the market is actually getting, and specifically on the employee side. And you'll notice this from the moment you apply to a job. If you apply to a job at a company, you'll almost instantly notice the break in what they're telling you and what you're actually experiencing.
Mm.
And the dual strategy is running and designing the customer brand and the employer brand at the same time so that they're not one and the same, they're cohesive, they're connected in a very clear, seamless manner. So for example, a good example of that is developing a vision and a mission statement. So a vision statement is your umbrella, how are we going to change the world statement. That's your global impact statement. So that is the same for an employee or a customer, because whether you're an employee or a customer, the way that your involvement with this company is going to change the world is still the same change the world sentiment. But the mission statement changes because the mission statement is the tactical manner in which you're going to achieve that vision. So if you're a customer, the organization's mission with customers on how to achieve that vision is not the same as how it's going to take place with employees. And as such, a potential employee will learn about this company, see the job descriptions, have an area where they talk solely to prospective employees, and understand how their involvement is going to help their lives and how their involvement is going to help the company's life in changing the world in the way that they want. Same with customers. That's the dual strategy approach. And that's different. I have yet to find someone. I know a few agencies who do both strategies. I have yet to find one that's doing it in this sort of parallel, simultaneous fashion. And I'm looking for them because I would love to get to know those people because I want other people to be doing this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for breaking that down for us. So, Nadir, that leads me to how do we connect with you? How can someone listening saying, I want more information? I think this might be a great direction for our company to go. How do they reach out to you? And is there something that they can grab for more information in the meantime?
Yeah, absolutely. So finding me is very easy. You can straight up Google me, Nader Safinya, and pretty much all of the first handful of results will be me. You'll find my website, blackribbit.com. I also have a podcast called Frog Talk, which is also available through the website, and I'm all over LinkedIn. I do have an offering for companies, for businesses who don't really know what they want. They just feel like they need something. So if you've been in business for more than a year, for at least a year. I offer what we call a rapid brand diagnostic, which does a quick online snapshot of how you exist in the market today, how your brand is perceived, and what people think and feel about your company and your organization. That's something that we do in under a week, and it's delivered in a presentation format. We go through it together. Very low cost, very painless, and it's something that's it's useful. It's very useful, very comprehensive. So I suggest looking into that, and reach out to me and talk to me directly. I'm very responsive. Heidi will tell you that I'm easy to reach.
Yes.
I look forward to hearing from anyone who wants to learn more from me directly.
Yeah, Nadir is extremely responsive. I don't think he sleeps. So reach out to him. He'll definitely respond pretty quickly, quicker than you think he will. Make sure you connect with him and take advantage of that offering, because I know you'll gain so much from it. And Nadir is amazing. I've had multiple conversations with him, and go check out his podcast, Frog Talk. It's very awesome. I've listened to it many times, and he has great guests on there and provides a lot of value. So Nadir, thank you so much for your time today. I'm super grateful for you being here. It's been an amazing conversation, and I am excited to see how, your company, Black Ribbit, moves through this year, and the success that you're having and going to continue having. And hopefully maybe we can do this again sometime soon.
Absolutely. The pleasure is all mine, Heidi. Seriously, thank you so much for inviting me. It's always so nice to see you and so nice to talk to you. So thanks again.
Thank you, Nadir. And thank you for listening to the Business Growth Spotlight podcast. Have an amazing rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next episode.